3 days until New Year's Eve, and I'm sure that everyone will know about those 3 movies that were been cancelled, such as Superman Lives, The Amazing Spider-Man 3, and the DC equals Extended Universe's version of The Batman. First, we'll be doing Superman Lives, the film that was directed by Tim Burton. Superman Lives is a cancelled superhero film under the direction of Tim Burton, based on screenplays by Wesley Strick and Dan Gilroy. Inspired by 1992 comic book The Death of Superman, Warner Bros. At behest, which was planned for a release in the summer of 1998. The film was an attempt to reboot the Superman franchise following the failure of Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. The plot follows: Brainiac sends the Kryptonian monster Doomsday to kill Superman, as well as blocking out the sun to make Superman powerless, as Superman is fueled by sunlight. Brainiac bonds himself to Lex Luthor, becoming Lexiac and using LexCorp's assets to help take control of the Earth. But Superman is resurrected by a Kryptonian robot called K, who becomes the new high-tech costume while he is still regenerating his powers. Production for Superman Lives began around 1996 or 1997 with the undergoing script title Superman Reborn by Jonathan Lemkin. Kevin Smith was hired to rewrite it based on his unfavorable review of Lemkin's script, and he changed the title to Superman Lives. Warner Brothers hired Tim Burton to direct, and the first thing Burton did after he signed on was hire his own screenwriter from Batman Returns. Wesley Strick was hired to write a completely new story. Eventually Dan Gilroy was hired to streamline this script and make it more budget-conscious. So why was it cancelled? Well, 1. Warner Brothers couldn't afford the monetary risk of producing it, especially after following the financial losses and unfavorable reviews of Batman and Robin, 187, The Postman, Sphere, Fire Down Below, and Steel. 2. The film underwent a rewrite before filming began, stripping away many of the most exciting scenes. It was cancelled shortly before shooting was scheduled to start. And lastly, 3. It was impossible to shoot a majority of the scenes. For example, Superman's fight with the giant spider, filmed entirely through CGI, which would be too expensive at the time. As a result, the money that was going to be used in making Superman Lives went into making the 1999 film Wild Wild West, where the protagonists fight off a giant spider in the third act. Nicolas Cage, who is a big comic book fan, continued to develop a Superman film after Burton parted ways with Warner Brothers. Tim Burton went on to direct the 1999 film Sleepy Hollow. Warner Brothers cancelled the project in 2000 and rebooted the Superman series 6 years later in 2006 with the release of Superman Returns, starring Brandon Routh as Clark Kent/Superman. Kevin Spacey was the only cast member from the cancelled Superman film to star in the film as Lex Luthor. Bryan Singer, famous for helming the first 2 X-Men films prior, directed the film. In 2015, a documentary film titled The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened was released on DVD and Blu-ray. The film was hosted by the late John Schnepp and featured interviews with various writers and producers who took part in making the film. The film also explained about different scripts, ideas for costumes, and fan reaction to hearing that Nicolas Cage was hired to play Clark Kent/Superman. The documentary even featured various behind-the-scenes footage, including footage of Nicolas Cage in various fittings and wardrobe tests, conceptual illustrations and storyboards. The element where Superman fights off a giant spider was featured in the 2007 direct-to-DVD film Superman, Doomsday. In 2018, Warner Brothers made an animated Death of Superman film which was theatrically released. The 9th episode of the 2nd season of Supergirl was titled Supergirl Lives as an homage to Superman Lives. Michael Jelenic pitched an animated adaptation of the Wesley Strick/Dan Gilroy screenplays, according to statements he made at the New York Comic Con in 2017. Nicolas Cage played Superman and Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Kevin Smith planned an animated adaptation, but the project never came to fruition due to writing other films. Tim Burton stated in an interview that he still would like to direct the film, despite the cancellation. Nicolas Cage made a cameo appearance as Superman in The Flash. Up next was The Amazing Spider-Man 3, the supposed sequel to the Mark Webb's The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Why was it cancelled? Well, 1. Plans for an Amazing Spider-Man cinematic universe, as well as this sequel, were cancelled due to the controversial Sony hack of 2014. 2. Sony hit the reset button and rebooted the series once again with Spider-Man: Homecoming, Spider-Man: Far From Home, Spider-Man: No Way Home, Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse, and Spider-Man: Across the Spider-Verse. 3. Andrew Garfield is now too old to play Spider-Man. He said he felt lucky to just be a fan again, and in a 2020 interview stated he is thrilled not to continue running in the role in the cancelled installments. And lastly, 4. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, despite receiving mixed reviews from critics and fans, was a box office disappointment. As a result, the film and its planned universe were permanently cancelled. Marvel hit the reset button again with his appearance in Captain America: Civil War, Spider-Man: Homecoming, Avengers: Infinity War, Avengers: Endgame, and Spider-Man: Far From Home, as well as his mentioning in Ant-Man. A 2021 installment, Spider-Man: No Way Home, Jamie Foxx would reprise his role as Electro from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Tom Hardy played Venom in Sony's Venom in 2018. Sony launched a new cinematic universe based on the Spider-Man property, which started in 2018 with the release of Venom. A sequel, Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, released in 2021, a Morbius movie in 2022, and Kraven the Hunter in 2024. A bunch of other projects are also in development. Andrew Garfield reprised his role as Peter Parker/Spider-Man for Spider-Man: No Way Home, which offered some closure to his character following Gwen Stacy's death, although made no mention of a Sinister Six being founded in his universe. Garfield's performance caused fans to campaign for a sequel starring him to be made. And lastly, we have the DCEU's version of the Batman. In 2013, it was announced that Ben Affleck would replace Christian Bale as Batman and that he will appear in many upcoming suit projects, and one of them was a solo Batman film. Keith Christensen designed a new Batsuit that looked completely different from what Affleck wore previously. The film would have taken place in Arkham Asylum, and Batman would face Deathstroke as well as ending up fighting against the Joker. The Joker was also going to kill Robin, the film taking place before Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, explaining the Robin suit with graffiti Batman had in a glass case. So why was it cancelled? Well, 1. Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice receives generally unfavorable reviews from critics, while Justice League receiving mixed reviews from critics, although their films were positive by audiences. 2. Justice League flopped at box office. And lastly, 3. Ben Affleck decided to not play Batman after Justice League. He also stepped down from acting and directing the film due to personal issues, and that he was unhappy that the Snyder Cut wasn't released yet. As a result, the Ben Affleck version of the Batman film was permanently cancelled. Ben Affleck reprised his role for the final time in 2023's The Flash. In 2022, the film was retooled as a non-Sue film starring Robert Pattinson and directed by Matt Reeves that hit theaters. 10 years after the last live-action solo Batman film, The Dark Knight Rises, was theatrically released, Ben Affleck and Joe Manganiello returned as Batman and Deathstroke to do reshoots for Zack Snyder's Justice League. Joe Manganiello revealed the film would have introduced Batgirl, although the film Batgirl has been cancelled. Well, that'll do for this video for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the future to see more cancelled movies that we're going to brought up. Until then, farewell.